want to first start off with our candidates. And our first candidate, I have my sheets tonight. Our first candidate is Congressman Marshall. Congressman Marshall is the congressman for the 1st District. He's a doctor from Great Bend area. And he won the primary here in August, so he is running now for the state senate, and I want to give a round of applause to Senator.
All right, well, Ray, thank you so much for having me, and thanks for moving the schedule up a little bit. And you know, first of all, when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, it always makes me think of President Eisenhower. And you know why? President Eisenhower was famous for many, many things, but one of them was he added the phrase, under God, to our Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God. And I have to tell you that I was in shock when the Democrats had their national convention that they took under God out from that. And I just want to share with you all, too, that we just opened the Eisenhower Memorial, had a big grand dedication this past week, and I was able to be there with Senator Roberts. Senator Roberts told me he'd been working on it for 21 years. And it sounds like a simple thing to get done, but getting the funding for something like that is never easy. So he kept chipping away a couple $1 million every year for 21 years until he had enough funding for it. But I think you all will love it when you get to go back to Washington, D.C. You can see the World War II Memorial, which really, that would not have happened without Senator Dole's persistence. And by the way, I get to see Senator Dole on a pretty regular basis. And, you know, all things considered, doing very well. He's just as sharp as a tack. You have to pay attention. His voice is a little softer. But if you listen closely, he'll make you laugh all afternoon long. He just celebrated another birthday. Usually every birthday, he invites my wife and myself to his condo. It's in Watergate, by the way. And anyway, he's got several stories about the Watergate Tower. So I want to share with you all another story. You know, usually the politicians come here and they give you their shtick. I think it'd be funner to share my favorite President Trump story with you. Is that okay? Okay. So after being there for a year, I'd met President Trump a couple times. And it had been one business meeting with a lot of congressmen, but he asked me to come to the Oval Office specifically to discuss health care with him. He knew that I was working on the legislation for Republicans to replace the ACA with. So I got to the White House, and Mick Mulvaney was there to greet me. Mick Mulvaney was the president's chief. So Mick was on my baseball team, our college baseball team. Recall when Steve Scalise got shot and all that stuff, right? So I knew Mick from the baseball team. He was a second baseman, really fiery guy. He's about 5'3", 103 pounds, soaking wet. And I got to the White House, and Mick brings me into his office. Okay, you got 10 minutes to the president. He's got a busy schedule, and Mick's just talking 90 miles an hour. He said, "You got it done in 10 minutes." Of course, Mick, whatever you say. We're waiting for the president to get there. And I look in front of Mick's desk, and there's a dry erase board. And guess what's on Mick's dry erase board? The president's campaign promises. So every day, the staff comes to the White House to work. It's like it's a business office. President Trump's a businessman like I am. I signed a paycheck every other week for 25 years for as few as 3 people, and grew several companies to over 300 people as well. So President Trump's a businessman. To me, we're at the White House, the Oval Office. We're there to do business. So he's got the team goals there. We walk into the Oval Office. The president shakes my hand. And before I sit down, the president says, "Roger, how are your farmers doing?" I said, "Well, Mr. President, it's tough times out here." So this is 2017, right? And the Chinese trade wars are getting geared up and all that stuff. And Mr. President, it's tough out here. And we talked for 30 minutes about agriculture. And he said, "Roger, when you go back to Kansas every time, tell your farmers and ranchers that I love them." That was his exact words. "Tell your farmers and ranchers that I love them, and that we have to stand up to this bully China. Ask your farmers and ranchers to stand beside me and to give me some room, and we will get a better deal for you. But I won't sign a bad deal." And I said, "Mr. President, even though it's tough times, I've never heard a farmer or rancher say an ill word about you. And I guarantee you that you're going to win Kansas." And every time he sees me, he asks, "How I'm doing in Kansas?" So we talked about farming and ranching, and by the way, trade to China is up 14% right now for agriculture products, up 14%. You all don't grow a lot of milo up here, but my part of the country, we're the largest milo producing district in the entire country. Milo's up to $4.17 a bushel at the Great Bend Co-op right now. China's buying every stick of it. It's record sales in corn to China right now as well. It was good to be on the way up here. Saw my first field of corn harvested for the year, maybe 7-8 miles down the road as well. So looks like a good crop. Your soybeans are so much better than ours. We have soybeans back home. They grow about this high, and I saw some here like this high. So good luck with that. And the price is back over $9 a bushel at the local Great Bend Co-op. Anyways, the president and I started talking. You all are familiar with the market facilitation payments, right? What those are? That conversation kind of started in the White House that afternoon when I was talking to the president. So we're sitting there talking, we're into a half an hour of this discussion, and I'm sitting there with the president, like this gentleman to me, and there's a coffee table between us. And on the coffee table is a red button. And I have one of those out-of-body experiences where, when I say we're talking, the president and I are talking, I'm doing most of the listening. He talks quite a bit. And I'm listening to the president, and I say to myself, my gosh, I'm little Roger Marshall. I grew up in Butler County, Kansas. That's just 30 miles outside of Wichita. 5th generation farm kid. Both of our family farms, my mom's and my dad's, but still in the family over 100 years of age. 5th generation farm kid. I became a first-generation college student, and my American dream was to become a doctor. My wife and I got married about 2 weeks before medical school, 37 years ago. We did medical school, residency, 7 years in Army Reserve, moved to Great Bend, Kansas, delivered 5,000 babies, raised 4 of our own, and now we have 2 grandsons and another one on the way. I've lived the American dream, and now I'm sitting with the President of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, in the Oval Office. And the president sees me staring at the red button. And he says, he looks at me and says, Roger, I bet you're wondering what the red button's for. Before I could nod my head, he reaches over and he pushes the red button. And I look outside and I think I'm going to see bombs bursting in air. I think that I'm going to see Marine Helicopter 1 landing. I think there's going to be a Secret Service agent jump from out behind the couch and grab me, and he's going to throw the president and me into a secret cable car, and we're going to go down to that secret safe room down in the White House. And I look up there, and there's a Marine corporal with a Diet Coke for the president. I shared that story, and the joke was on me. I shared the story. I think, as you can tell, the press hits the president pretty hard, but every time I'm with him, he always says, Roger, how are your farmers and ranchers doing? I think it was during that discussion that I began to understand how our president connects to hardworking men and women across the country. Because he actually gives a darn, right? He actually gives a darn. He wants us to be successful. And it's been the honor of my life to work with him and support him through many, many challenges through these years as well. So, that kind of takes us to today. We ran for Congress 3 years ago, and here we are now running for the Senate. I'm proud to represent the Republicans. Very proud. We've held the seat since 1932, and I'll be darned if we're going to lose it on my watch. National polling says it's a statistical tie right now in my race. National polling says President Trump's in a statistical tie in Kansas, but I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. My dad said he got a phone call from someone doing polling about 2 or 3 weeks ago. My dad's 82 years old, was the chief of police in El Dorado for 25 years. And guess what my dad told them? Click. That's a personal question. If you would ask my dad, my family, he said at supper table, we don't talk about politics or religion. Who you're voting for is a very personal decision. And we don't go around, my dad taught me to wear my religion on my heart, not my shirt sleeve, right? So religion, politics, it's a personal thing. I really have confidence that we're going to win this thing, and we're going to win it big. We're going to send a message to the Democrats to take their money someplace else. Just this week, the largest abortion lobbyist in the country dumped $2.5 million of attack ads on me. because my opponent has a 100% voting record on abortion. She's not only in favor of abortion, she's in favor of late-term abortion. She's in favor of dismemberment abortion. During the debate yesterday, I asked her if she would be in favor of murdering babies that survived abortions, which is a thing, right? It's a thing. It's hard to believe, but it's a thing. And she refused to answer the question, okay? I think that God has, He wants to give this country another chance, that we have fallen away from our faith, the faith of our forefathers. And I'm not wishing ill will on the Justice Bader Ginsburg, which has passed. We prayed for her and we mourn her loss. But He's giving our country another chance to appoint and select and confirm another conservative, pro-life, constitutional Supreme Court justice. Someone who's not going to write the law, but will apply the law. Does that make sense? Someone will apply the law, not write the law. We don't want our Supreme Court to be the legislature. And I've only been asked this question by the press about 25 times since yesterday afternoon to compare now to 2016. The difference is this: in 2016 we had a Democrat president and a Republican Senate. Democrat, Republican. That a Senate of the opposite party of the president has not confirmed a Supreme Court justice since 1888. Okay? 1888. Versus, on the other hand, when the party of the Senate and the president are the same, 29 times they've confirmed a Supreme Court justice in the context of the last year of the president. Does that make sense? So it's apples and oranges, and why the national news won't speak the truth here. There's a huge difference between 2016 versus today. Again, a Democrat president, Republican Senate today, Republican. I think it's the Senate's commitment that their obligation to move forward, that it's the right thing to do, that if they don't do their job, we're going to fire them. Right? I think if there's a Republican senator out there that's dragging their feet on this, I think that Republicans will fire them and say, give me somebody that will stand up and lead on this issue. If the shoe was on the other foot, is there any doubt at all what the Democrats would be doing? Everyone here needs to realize what happens if we would lose the Senate majority right now. If we lose the Senate majority right now, their first vote, of course, would be to make Chuck Schumer the leader of the Senate. Their next vote is to give Washington, D.C. statehood. The next vote after that is to give Puerto Rico statehood. That gives them 4 more Democrat senators. We would never see a Republican majority the rest of our lives. They would get rid of the cloture as well, the 60-vote rule, which would limit the ability of the minority to have any say in Congress right now. So there is so much at stake, so much more I could talk about. Maybe I'll stop there, and so I've got time for some questions, but I don't want to take away time from the other candidates as well.
Congressman, you're on the House Agricultural Committee.
Yes, sir.
Do you look at possibly being on the Senate Committee then?
Oh, absolutely. That will be my first, second, and third choice. Is to be on the Ag Committee. I think I'm these 2 candidates, the only one that's qualified. As I share with people, I'm the candidate that can actually sort heifers and steers. My first job off the family farm was working at the local sale barn. Spent every weekend there. I lied about my age when I was 15 to get a job. My brother called me up on a Saturday afternoon. He was working out there. He said, well, we're really busy. Get your butt out here. We need some help. And he said, just make up your birthday. So anyway, I understand agriculture, so I'm trying to say. A great experience writing 1 farm bill. This will be my top priority. This is a discussion I've had with Mitch McConnell already. Senator Moran and I have had the same discussion as well. What Kansas needs to realize, this 1-2 punch that we've always had, is a person on the Authorization Committee, that's the Ag Committee, and then Senator Moran is on the Ag Appropriations Committee. So we write a farm bill, but then he pays for it, right? So we need to keep that 1-2 punch. There's nothing more important in Kansas and Washington, D.C. other than confirming conservative Supreme Court justices, of course. There's nothing more important that I can think of if there are senators than to make sure we have a presence on that Senate Ag Committee. We've had a presence on there really since 1968, and I for sure don't plan on changing that. So I think, yes, sir, absolutely. Yes, Chairman Kuckelman.
Well, first, I want to say congratulations on your debate yesterday. You did a fantastic job. Clearly, you were the winner. One selling point that your opponent keeps using is that she's some kind of a moderate. Can you kind of walk us through maybe 3 things that demonstrate that that's absolutely misleading, that she is not a moderate?
Right. Right. So my opponent's tagline is she's not a moderate, that she's something, but she's absolutely a liberal. That she has a 90% voting record in the State House and Senate with Democrats, a 90% voting record with Democrats. She's never seen a tax increase she hasn't liked. She has a 100% voting record against life, 100% voting record in favor of abortion. And she has a 100% voting record on anything to do with attacking your Second Amendment as well. I think that's where it starts, and then we can dig even deeper, but I think those are issues enough for most traditional Kansas Republicans to say enough, that she's out of touch, that she's not just in favor of abortion, but she's in favor of the late term, the dismemberment abortion as well. Those are several issues. Yes, sir.
When you get elected, President Trump had his campaign promise the next 4 years of term limits on congressmen and senators. Would you be for that, and also the constitutional amendment, returning that the senators back to the state house to be elected from their state representatives?
Okay. So I signed up in favor of limited terms for Congress and the Senate the first day I got their term limits. I signed up for several legislations. I'm definitely in favor of it. Obviously, this isn't my first rodeo. I've had another entire career. Really thought that I would spend 2 or 3 terms in the House and probably be done. Wasn't expecting Senator Roberts to retire. Can't see myself spending more than 2 terms doing this. So I'm in favor of it. To be honest, it's not going to go anywhere. That it's never going to get out of committee. And then I'm not quite sure in the second question what you're talking about. Are you talking about
Constitutional amendment where now we're electing senators by majority vote instead of our state house getting to choose representatives in that body?
Boy, I've never given that much thought, so I would, above all do no harm, I would leave it like it is. I'd have to really examine that possibility. I remember, I guess I'm thinking my history way back, that's the way it used to be, wasn't it?
Yep.
Back in the day, so I'd be hesitant to change that part of it right now, but okay. All right, listen, I think there's probably more questions, but I'm honored to represent, be the GOP nominee. I do ask for your vote, your support. If Republicans get out, we win this thing going away. That we outnumber the number of Democrats considerably. We got to do some work on the moderates, the independents as well. We'll do that as well. But if the base of the party gets out, supports President Trump, votes for Roger Marshall, votes for Jake LaTurner, and then keeps going down the list here, that's going to keep, in our state senators, our state education, all those are real important as well to keep strong conservative, pro-business, pro-life, pro-agriculture policies here in the state of Kansas. So I'm honored to be here today. I've still got a couple more events left to do, so I'm going to skip out up here, I'm afraid, before I get to eat. But if there's any pie back there, I promise I'm an expert at tasting pies, so I'll make sure I confirm the pie's good, okay? All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. And, before I forget, there are campaign signs over in the corner, so if we have, pick up a sign and go ahead and as you leave, or if you don't have one already. So I think Senator Marshall will do an excellent job for us to represent Kansas and our American government. So.